A few years ago, our church decided to host a prom dress boutique. My best friend and I woke up at 5 a.m. We decorated the church beautifully, had prom dresses ready to give out to any families that needed them, and no one came. Honestly, it was heartbreaking. We had a dream in our heart to serve the families in our communities in this special and unique way, but we failed. We put all the work in to prepare for the event, to plan for the event, but we didn't properly communicate to our church and our community about the event, and it ended up being a big flop. One of the most impactful aspects about this were when people would reach out after saying, "Oh man, I had no idea that was happening. I would have loved to have been a part." Or students that would come up to us saying, "Man, I really needed a dress. I didn't even know that happened." As painful as this was, I'm sure I'm not the only person that has a story like this. Hi, my name is Nina Hampton. I'm a member success manager here at Texton Church, and I've been serving my local church alongside my husband for the past decade, and I love the church. Church is a huge passion in my heart, and I'm so excited to be a part of this event with church leaders like you. So today, I'm going to share 3 communication strategies to transform your church's events, including Easter. I know that putting on an event right now can seem so overwhelming considering everything that 2020 threw at us. But here's how I know that they work. I've already made the mistakes, and I'm about to save y'all the trial and error that I've already suffered through. Your church has had to weave through and adapt to changes and challenges in the last year. But everything that I teach you today can, and I would argue should, be implemented in every church event you do. Whether it's a small, local, or online event that you're hosting, or a major affair like Christmas and Easter, these strategies will allow you to engage with your members and guests, equip your volunteers, and execute all the communication needed to make your event a success. If you ask anyone close to me, they would tell you that I love getting together. Whether that's celebrating together, learning, growing, or even mourning together, I love being with my tribe. And that's what's beautiful about the church. It's your tribe, your group, your people, and in a way, your family. And you love it, right? At least I hope that's how you feel. And I think that it's from this sense of belonging that comes our desire for people to be a part of our faith community. And of course, we want to extend into our local community because that's the Great Commission. That's what Jesus commanded us to do, to be his hands and feet. We want everyone to experience the security and the freedom and the joy that's found with being part of a faith community. And that's why the events that we put on at our churches are so incredibly important. It's an opportunity to show any and everyone who doesn't know anything about your church what you guys are all about. And it's our hope that once they experience that, they'll want to make it their home too. One thing that I hope to accomplish in our time together is a shift in your mindset when it comes to events. Something that I encounter often in the work I do at Texton Church, as well as in ministry myself, is this sense of dread or this "let's get this over with" demeanor when it comes to events. Major happenings like Easter and Christmas can feel just like survival mode. I invite you to take back control over planning these events. With proper planning and systems in place, events can be, dare I say, the enjoyable part of what you do. I know that this may seem like a stretch, but I'm living proof. So let's get into it. 3 communication strategies for executing an effective and efficient event. The first strategy is to start communication about your event well before it happens. And I don't just mean a week or 2. I mean, your Easter prep, for example, should be happening now. One of the very first things that you should be doing is communicating with your staff and core volunteer teams. Cast vision for your team so that they can lean into what the Lord has put on your or your pastor's heart, and they can partner with the vision to truly be a part of this event. And then figure out the different volunteer areas that you need and start recruiting people to help. Here's an example of a text message that you could send out to your team leads. "Hey John, it's hard to believe that Easter is just around the corner. We're excited to see the new faces that God brings to our campus. Be on the lookout for opportunities to serve." And then a couple of weeks later, you could send them a follow-up message saying, "Hi John, thanks so much for being a part of our greeting team. We would love to have you welcome our Easter guests. Does 9 or 11 a.m. work for you?" We actually have an entire Easter PDF with done-for-you messages for your volunteers. Just click on the link below this video and tweak those messages to fit your needs. All right, so timely volunteer recruitment is a huge piece of this. I know that you feel that volunteerism is a beast all on its own, but I promise thorough communication well in advance makes a big difference. Another key communication that needs to happen before Easter will be to your members. Start talking up your events with your members so that they can get in the habit of inviting. I think we can all agree that the majority of our events aren't just for our members, right? Events are a huge part of our community building strategy. And if we aren't equipping our members to invite people, then we aren't just missing out on a huge opportunity for our church, but the kingdom of God as well. If you're not sure where to start, we have these message templates done for you in the Easter PDF that I just mentioned, so please utilize those. Here's an example of a message that you could send out to your congregation. Hey Judy, we've made it super simple for you to invite your family, friends, coworkers, and neighbors to our Easter services this year. Here are some sample texts and notes to send out. Hey Scott, we have an awesome Easter service at our church and would love to have you join us. We are going to be going to the 9:30 service. If that time doesn't work for you, the other service times are 8 and 11. Want to join us? Have Easter plans? We would love to have you join us at our Sunday service at 9:30. Interested? I don't know if you have a place to go to church for Easter this year, but I would love to have you join me. In addition, some creative ways that we've seen churches do this is to create invitations and have them available for members to take with them as they leave to actually send or hand to their family and friends. You can create digital invites to send by email or messenger for online services too. Cast vision for your members far enough in advance that they have a chance to catch God's heart for this event and why it's an important part of extending God's love to their community. See, the question isn't, is your church doing amazing things, putting on amazing services, or building genuine community? The question is, do people know about it? And are your members and volunteers equipped to join you in that mission? The last piece of your pre-event communication would be having a way to engage with your guests before the event. Pre-registration. With an event like Easter, this can be done through Plan a Visit, which Allie dug into deeper in yesterday's keynote. If you're hosting a fall festival, then you can have a form on your website, like a Smart Connect card, where people can register. This will gather their contact information, and then you can send them a few messages out before the event. Messages like, we're so excited to see you at Easter, or can't wait to have you at our fall festival. Make sure that you bring a bag of candy. This will create opportunities to connect before they show up, as well as keep your event in the front of their minds. A pro tip, on top of scheduling or automating your messages in advance so they don't slip your mind, create a calendar the quarter before your event. Then you can look at each week to make sure you're sending out messages that you're supposed to, having volunteer meetings when you're supposed to, and doing promos on social media when you're supposed to, and on and on. This allows you to take a high-level look at your event planning process and to see if you actually have enough time. All right, on to strategy number 2. The second communication strategy for executing an effective and efficient event is to communicate during your event. So let's continue with our Easter example. At your Easter services, you see far more guests than any other Sunday, right? Except for maybe Christmas. So you want to make sure that you're addressing your guests during your service. Even if it's not a traditional worship service, you still want to find a way to collect their contact information, both for in-person gatherings and online. Here are a few ideas. At an event like in-person Easter services, you can have a paper connect card in the seat backs, or try putting a keyword with your phone number for people to text in during your pre-service slides. Make sure to mention the text-in option or paper option during your welcome talk and say it one more time before the end of your service. A quick caveat here, if you haven't heard of it, texting in a keyword is a feature offered by Text in Church. This is a keyword that you choose that is linked to a group within your Text in Church account. So, for example, let's say that I visit your church. I text the keyword guest to your church's Text in Church phone number, and then I get added to the guest group inside of your Text in Church platform. There are follow-up messages already written and scheduled to start sending to me. It's super simple. Another way to connect with guests and collect their contact information during your event is to have a digital connection card on a tablet in your Welcome Center. It's pretty much a digital version of your paper connect card, except once they fill it out, they'll be added to the same guest group that I was talking about, so you don't have to remember to. Those are all in-person worship service options. But what about online events? One way to connect with your people is to have volunteers and staff moderating the chat on your YouTube or Facebook live stream. Drop a link to the digital connection card in the chat. Have ways for people to engage through chat or text-in options during the online event so they can get comfortable feeling seen. For in-person events that's not structured like a worship service, it's still critical to have an opportunity to share information. Let's say for Easter, you're doing an egg hunt. It's outside, so it's free, and even though you did ask for people to register ahead of time, plenty of people will just show up. One way to capture their information is by setting up a photo booth for families to come to. Then you can have them fill out a digital connection card or text in the keyword egg to your Text in Church number, or you could even have them fill out a paper connect card. That way you have their information to send them their picture and to continue to reach out with them, inviting them to church and building relationships with them over time. For all your events, having a welcoming environment where your members can bring their guests to have a face-to-face, 6 feet away, interaction with somebody from your church is a great way to show guests that you care. Maybe a little gift for them once they show up, and don't forget to send one to your online visitors too. This goes such a long way. These little details, though they may seem small, show guests that, well, we planned for you. Well, you're welcome here, and we're so happy that you came. It's those little details that make your guests feel known, noticed, and loved. If you've been part of the Text and Church community long, you've noticed that a lot of strategy 2 sounds like what we recommend doing with your first-time guests. And you'd be exactly right. We firmly believe that your guests should be obsessed over. When they show up, they need to think, man, they were hoping that I'd be here. You want them to feel how thoughtfully you prepared for them, and that helps to eliminate doubts in their mind and answer the question of, do I belong here? That's huge. All right, so you did an awesome job recruiting and communicating with your volunteers, equipped your members well to invite, and had excellent communication for your event. And now we move on to the last strategy, post-event communication. So you just had this amazing event. Your staff and volunteers were all on the same page and informed, your members were excited and engaged, and you made personal connections with tons of guests. The weeks, days, and even hours following your event are the most critical time to follow up with your guests, volunteers, and members about what they experienced and what they can look forward to. You might have noticed that in the conference workbook, a little bright orange button called an easy button. Now, I'm about to share with you some really important stuff. And the best part is that the easy button is going to do just that, make it easy for you. But I'll explain more in a little bit. Following up with your guests could be the most critical part of making sure that your guests feel known, noticed, and loved. Remember that prom boutique that I told you about? We didn't have a strategy in place to collect their information, communicate with them throughout the event, and follow up with them. Well, needless to say, we learned a few things. Moving forward, we always made sure to follow up with the girls we gave dresses to, and it was so fruitful. We built relationships with these girls and their families. I remember one year, a couple of families sent in pictures of the girls wearing the dresses that we gave them to prom. Now, with a proper system in place, we could start inviting these families to church or keep them informed about our next youth event. Sending an email that says thanks to your guests for coming and sharing a little bit more information about your church makes all the difference. If you don't know where to start, don't fret. That's where the easy button comes into play. We have an entire Easter workflow that we would love to share with you so that you can use it as a framework for your follow-up. If you're a Text and Church member, then you can just click the easy button and download all of those right into your account. If not, click the downloadable PDF below to help you craft those messages on your own. Or grab our free gift to you, 60 days of Text and Church, so that you can run these messages for Easter 2021. Of course, your event could not have happened without your volunteers. Letting them know how appreciated they are will not only help them to feel seen and noticed, but it's more likely that they will be eager to sign up to help at your next event. Also, make sure to communicate with them and your members about the next event or sermon series that's coming up to keep them engaged with your church's activities. So, that's a lot of content. We covered the touch points with your volunteers, staff, church members, and event attendees. Scheduling and organizing these messages may feel time-consuming, but taking time to strategically communicate with you about your event will pay off. People will not only show up for your events, but they will be met with incredible hospitality.